Hey everybody, how's it
Hey,
going? How's it going, Paul? Alyssa, you're back for another
Hi.
month of marketing discussions.
she's back.
It's
She
always
went
fun.
diving in Jamaica.
Yes, the guys were appreciating my vintage Jamaica dive t-shirt that I'm rocking today.
There
Yes,
you go.
as opposed to Fab's shameless plug.
It's not a shameless plug. I got it as a gift when I became a gold partner, so I wanted
Fair. We're representing our interests and hobbies in our
I think
probably.
it's all good. On
Plus, what
that
is an
note,
interest and a hobby?
on that note, we're going to dive into how to create
Oh,
a strong product and service position. I'm trying to
Yes.
yep.
Fab
So
it.
this is definitely your strong suit. I mean, even when I was in marketing, this is not my strong suit. So, I'll let you. I think we'll let you lead for this one.
Yeah, go for it. That's fine. I don't mind doing that. Yeah, because everyone sort of has a sense of what brand positioning is. You can think about it from a packaged goods perspective, where it's overarching, what does this product or brand mean to me? And it's how you're positioning it in the world. But from a B2B perspective, in service-based and B2B oriented companies, where they either have a product or a service, often it's a matter of actually properly positioning the service and product itself in an effective way as well. So obviously you're doing brand positioning for your organization, but then at a next level, how are you packaging and positioning what you actually do in a really clear and succinct way? And sometimes that's the part that gets convoluted because organizations get all busy with their values and their positioning or their elevator speech or their whatever you want to call it, their sort of tag or their what I do and who I do it for messaging. But then often get a little in the weeds when they're trying to explain, whether it's on a website, in marketing initiatives, or in sales communication, what they actually do and why it's good and what it is specifically and how they do it. So those three things are really important and kind of what I account for when doing product positioning with clients.
Interesting. And so, just to get it clear, from a sales perspective, are you saying that when they put it on their website, it's too much in the weeds? So, is it possible that because they're doing that, the potential clients don't understand or they're not grasping? So, what are the disadvantages? Let's say the first disadvantages of not doing this properly. Is it because you're missing out on opportunity, or you don't know yourself what you're doing? what what's the
Yeah. Sometimes it's actually the latter. So we work on
that's not
that,
good.
figuring out first of like, what's all that we offer and what's the benefit and point of all of it. The other piece, yes, it makes it harder for that prospect to really get a sense of or understand what you're actually offering, what you're putting down, really. And no one likes a choose your own adventure. I like to go with that description. So don't make your prospect have to choose their own adventure of how they should work with you. That's not their job. And if you make it complicated for them, often people think, oh, but I want to make sure I'm giving them everything. They can do all these things and to showcase all the amazing things and products and services that they can get from us. But you're forcing then your target or your prospect to do that work for you and come to the table, be like, okay, I would like to order this. Like, this is not like a Popeye's chicken menu. Like you're not like picking and choosing and they're putting together their order for their family. You need to make it a little bit more simple for them to be able to understand what's best for them and how you can benefit them best. And
It's
often
funny because you were saying that, and all I could think of is when I go eat sushi, and I'm always really confused because I know what I like, then I don't know what it's called, and so it's a good point actually. So how do you get around that? How do you let's be really concrete here. Let's say you have a website and you want to show some different things that you do. How do you circumvent the menu option? Because that's what I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see a lot of menus on websites, and I don't mean the traditional menu. I mean the menu of what can be done.
Yeah, the choose your own adventure. To not ostracize anyone, to encompass everyone, and to be appealing to all, and to showcase everything we can do. So it goes back to the heart of brand positioning marketing, communication. Who are you talking to? Who
Okay.
is that ideal prospect? And then what product or service serves both you and them best? Because I guarantee you there's just one. As an example, if you're a service-based company, say you're like an agency or some kind of experiential agency, you can sell people one-off things, a la carte menu, pick your own adventure, or you can come to the table with a larger offering. You can join us on retainer. We will become your communication partner. We will do all the things and build a strategy and a plan for you. So what's a more valuable relationship or service offering to put on the table then for both you and them? So it's kind of going back to the drawing board and thinking, okay, who are we talking to and what actually makes us the most money? And that is the thing that you put forward first as what I refer to kind of as your 3-tiered cake of the primary product or service that you're selling.
And actually, it's funny you mentioned that because it reminds me of an episode that just Paul and I did, I don't know, probably a long time ago, and about analyzing pipelines and stuff like that. And we mentioned that like something that's often forgotten is analyzing why you've lost an opportunity or a deal, right? It's going back to your lost opportunities that I find for me myself, looking back, even though I do it unofficially with myself, I don't have a sales team. It's like you're looking at why you lose stuff. And I remember I would like sometimes present like 2 options, like, hey, you can go with option A or B, and then you obviously choose nothing. And you're right, like that's by analyzing why you're losing stuff, because you're talking about like how you can tie it into sales also is a great place to maybe not start, but definitely include in your research is like why are some opportunities not going forward, and guaranteed there's some answers in there about that you can use for your positioning, right? Like maybe the deals where you have like 16 different products or you spend all this time talking about all your products, like those deals don't move forward. That's probably a sign that you need to simplify and what is working and so on and so forth.
Okay, so maybe I'm thick here. So Fab, what you're saying is if you go back and analyze why you've lost a deal, it'll help you be more clear and succinct in the way that you build your product offer. Is that it? Because you'll know what people don't want or what doesn't work, and you'll be able to focus on what works. Is that what you're... Okay.
Until this point, at some point, you'll realize that, hey, when we present things this way or when we package it that way or whatever your conclusion is, it tends to work. I think that, that's part of like, let's call it a market research, right? Like your concrete research as to what people want and don't want. And it's usually right in your CRM, like you have it. You don't need to go out and hire like some survey, like a survey team or whatever, research team or whatnot. Like a lot of the information you have is right in front of you.
Is right in front of you. I got to be really honest here. So you're talking about this, Alyssa, and I feel so, I so feel that I need personal training on this. And what do I mean by that is that, I go out and I do a lot of different things with different clients, and I'll adjust it according to what's going on, right? So I'll adjust the menu and I'll tell them, well, this is what you need. And we've had this discussion offline with both of you. I find my website is just, it's okay. I don't want to say crappy because the person who built it actually did a good job. It's not crappy because it was not done properly, but it doesn't demonstrate, it doesn't do what we're saying should be done right now. So I'm definitely feeling a certain amount of anxiety and discomfort speaking about this. But so and I'll throw it right back at you, as someone who is not sure that they're doing the right thing, short of hiring you or working with you, which is, obviously we talk and
the best option.
I've got the advantage of doing that. What do you say to someone like me or like us? Because I'm sure there's a lot of us out there, whether they're solopreneurs like me, well, actually my wife's in the company, but both of us together, or whether we're, companies that are a little larger that don't really understand what they should be doing. So instead of them choosing, what do you suggest that they do? How should they go about, short of hiring you, or they can hire you? That's the best option. But let's say what would be option number 2?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's a matter of twofold. To Fab's point is doing a bit of research. So it takes some time to figure out what you're best at offering and how you like to work with clients. or other businesses or business partners. So figure out what works best for you, and also figure out what works best for them, or what people are biting at most, what people are most inclined to use you for and work with you for. And so that sweet spot comes together as like the middle of the circle in those dumb like 2 circle diagrams where you get like the middle part.
Yeah. If I could just interrupt you 2 seconds, I find like, because we're talking about a lot of small businesses, and I find a lot of small businesses like positioning, like that's like a PepsiCo type of thing, right? Like I don't have the budget for that, but I find like small businesses are usually the best position to position themselves, because sometimes you could go also just on that intuition, right? Like we've all worked with that client that you're like, you were speaking to them and you're like, this is not a good fit, right? But I went ahead with it because whatever, and it wasn't a good fit. Like when you're a small business, you're so close when you're in B2B enterprise sales, like you're so close to those sales and those deals. Like often I find often there's just like that feeling like, there's something off about this deal. Like, what is it? And you can like meditate on it. But that's what I find. Like small businesses tend to shy away from positioning, but I think they're the best position to find a strong positioning just based off like intuition.
It's true.
But that's qualifying, isn't it, Fab? I mean, what you're talking about is that. So I think I'm good at that too. I'll have a discussion with someone, and I'll very quickly be able to qualify whether I can help them or not.
But isn't qualifying part of positioning, right? It's about saying like, this is who we work with, or this is what this service is for, not for that.
And how do you condense that? What I'm saying is, how do you boil that soup down to something that makes sense on your website?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it depends on the business. So let's assume we're small business solo contractors or something for now, kind of like we are. There's a next tier to that of being a mid-size organization. But for the purposes of being like a little guy or a sole entrepreneur, positioning is, you never don't position. Like if you remotely describe your business, you're positioning. So that's not even a thing. So wipe that out of everyone's lexicon of the fact that like positioning is only for, big brands, because you must position yourself in some capacity. Otherwise you are not able to sell what you offer. So everyone's doing it, whether they're doing it well or poorly is the difference. Okay. And so I think it's really important to utilize those experiences in a sales capacity, in an executing the work you do perspective, to help you learn and consistently be recomputing. And I'm working with a client who does machine learning right now. So it's like your brain is the machine learning device. It's like tweaking and figuring out as you go along how I'm reframing what I do to maximize my profit, my time, my enjoyment of my life, and how to maximize the results for my clients. And the two go hand in hand consistently. And it's through sales experiences and executing the work you do that you consistently tweak and revise and filter that product positioning. And so it is hard to come out of the gate with really clear product positioning. I understand that. It's taken me like 2 years to filter through what my packages are and what I actually like doing and what I want to do.
You do this for a living.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes time to figure it out. But sometimes people aren't understanding at the get-go, or even those organizations that have been in business for 10 to 15 years, that they could maximize their profits and their success in client relationships way better by actually positioning their 3-tiered cake as the offer. Here's what I have to give you. And then in the context of a sales call, you can say, oh, okay, maybe you don't want the 3-tier cake. Let me tailor that then. And that's what you're doing in the sales negotiation experience, but not in your overarching marketing and communication as an organization.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm really learning a lot here. Thank you. So because all full disclosure, my website really has everything that I do, and it sort of briefly talk about it. And from what you're saying, I should, maybe focus on the one thing that I do really well that makes a lot of difference to a lot of people. Now, again, I'm, from the bottom of the bell curve, the bottom of the bell curve, not sales wise, but marketing wise, or presentation wise, or positioning wise. What does someone like, more like me, less like you, because you do have more expertise than me at this level, and Fab's maybe between us, probably closer to you, but what should someone do specifically? What should they, like, like maybe give us a little like 5-step process. Do this first, then that, or 3-step or 2, whatever it is. But like where do you start? Like, what are you looking at? Do you mind? I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry. But.
So for small solo consultants, let's call us. I really am a supporter of making it really easy for your client not to have it be, let's have a conversation, you connect with me, and then I'll put something together for you and it be a surprise. So that makes a barrier automatically for someone to connect with you, because I don't want the awkwardness of having a conversation with someone and have them come back to me with something I can't afford, that's not a good fit, that I didn't really understand. So I want to creep the crap out of you in advance and have a really good understanding of what I get by connecting with you. I kind of want a menu, but I want a really simple menu. It cannot be an a la carte, choose your own adventure, here's everything at the buffet. There must be categories of buffet. Here are your desserts, here are your mains, here are your entrees, and there are 4 dishes within each, right?
So you gotta pause here. So you've talked about chocolate cake and 3-tiered cake, and you mentioned desserts first. Are you craving for cake?
I've had lunch. It's me and my table. At least it's not dog poo this time. So like we're moving up.
Okay, right.
Back to the previous episode.
It was good. Sorry, it was a good tangent. I'm sorry, but let's get back.
And I forced us to digress further.
Okay.
So back to the analogy. I recommend, if it feels comfortable and it fits within your sort of service offering, to package things up in a really clear and simple way for your prospects. It serves you well because you know what you want to do. Like ideally, if you could imagine, Fab, like what your ideal client is and what you do for them on a daily basis, package that up. And that's what you push and sell.
It's on his shirt.
Sorry? Oh, sorry, Fab. Sorry, Paul. I meant that for Paul.
Okay. People mix us up all the time.
Okay, so Alyssa, I understand. So I've got to say, when I'm presenting a proposal or I'm discussing with someone, obviously from a sales background, I think I'm pretty good at that. So I guess my question to you is website wise.
Yeah.
So if we just talk about website for a second, to everyone who's got a pizza website up there, like how do you, is it the same sort of process? Talk, what are the things you do best? Have some categories, like you said, desserts, meats, entrees, or whatever it is, and then sort of talk about what you do in those general categories. Is it the same thing? Is that what you're saying? Whether it's website or some kind of literature that you're putting out there?
Yeah. So the nuance, and I use in my sales messaging all that you've taught me, Paul, like entirely. So let's say you have your website. It's very clear. You have a clear understanding of your own brand positioning. So what you do, who you do it for, the benefit to them of hiring you, what makes you different and better, some proof. How you do it, why you're better. So either that's methodology or a process you take people through or credentials, whatever that is, give me some reason to believe. Proof in the pudding, please, a little bit, right in that homepage. Then I recommend actually providing, whether you put pricing to it or not, that's up to you, but don't make it okay, now connect with me and I'll put together a program for you. Okay. I want to see what programs I can buy. I want to see what packages I can purchase. Okay. That's how I would recommend as a consultant in the capacities in which we work to do it, to make it really easy for someone to connect with you, because you've already almost made it very clear what you have to offer. Okay. Then rolling on all the learning from you, Paul, and your brilliance in terms of sales is then you have the conversation with them. They talk 80%, you talk 20%, you get all the dirt on them. You figure out all their goals, all their needs, all their pains. And then you're putting together a package or a proposal that reflects, as you've taught me, all their issues and the package you recommend they buy. And in my case, it's a package that serves me best and also serves them. But like, really, I need 2 more in this package for filling my client roster. So I'm going to sell you that one. And then if you want to move from one to the other, there's flexibility within that. So it ends up being a win-win for both you as the consultant and for your prospect. And then you do that sales call, as you've taught me so brilliantly. But you're putting a package on the table that they already creep. They already know it's no surprise. I'm in that sales call saying, like, I recommend my fractional CMO, like the big gun package. Like, you definitely need that one based on A, B, and C things you've told me. I'll put together a proposal with more details for you on that. but there's no surprise. They're like, oh, great, I saw that package on the website. I was thinking about that one in advance.
Yeah. Okay, well that's great. Okay, that's good. Well, thanks for throwing those compliments at me. I appreciate it. One, I feel very good. And no, it's interesting because I guess sometimes for the person, like I think all three of us are good at what we do, right? We're confident. Like when Fab's helping a client do what he does, when I'm helping a client do what I do, I'm confident, as you are as well. I guess where I feel it gets a little blurry is when I'm not having that one-on-one conversation. It's when you're putting something out there that does not take into account what they're saying to you. And so what you're really saying is that if you're not having that conversation, you don't have to put out everything you do from a web perspective, or even in a conversation, a proposal, like we said, you listen and you put back out what's important to them. But when you're building that website, you should maybe it's almost like a case study, right? This is like the chocolate cake, 3-layer chocolate cake, and this is what it does. Let's have a conversation, right? Am I wrong? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's when it comes to large organizations too, in terms of product positioning, it's making it really clear for that prospect. And we'll use the website again as an example, but it's only one tactic of obviously many in which you're communicating what you do.
Yeah, social
media. You make it really easy for them to understand predominantly what you are pushing at them. And a lot of times businesses don't prioritize what serves them best. They're not putting forward the 3-tier cake. They're putting forward like the sprinkles and the icing, and they're spreading it out and breaking it up, or just making it not clear what the cake actually looks like actually put it down. Like, we do 2 products. Here are details about it. I think too, in product positioning, people like to convolute their service offering to make it feel like more than it is. And that's actually doing themselves a disservice. So for example, say you have a product that you can utilize or can get tailored into different industries. So within your website, you have like, here's how we do it for if you're in finance, or if you're in, government, or if you work in Board of Educations. And here's all the choose your own adventure ways in which we can implement this product. If it's not carried out in a really clear way, that just confuses people. Yeah. So sometimes people want to just say more, all that we can do, how you can use this product in a million different ways. And that actually doesn't serve a company well. It's better if they just really clearly put on the table what their offering is, and then maybe give some direction to the nuances in which that product can exist or live.
And it's interesting you say that, because we often, sorry, Fab, you were going to say something.
No, I was just actually seeing another parallel between the sales conversations that we sometimes have, where it's like salespeople are afraid to disqualify, right? They like having this full pipeline, even though they unconsciously fully well know that 60% of it is garbage. It's the same thing with positioning and marketing. It's like, it's very scary as a marketer to be like, this is who we serve and this is how we're going to serve you. And if you don't fit that, then we're probably not a good fit for you. That's a very scary thing to do. And when you're talking about, like, Paul, when you're talking about communicating, like, when when it's not a conversation, there's a scary part. Like, okay, even like I posted on LinkedIn something yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I know some people I know will feel represented by what I posted, but I'm going to post it. There's a scary element to disqualifying in a way. And that's what positioning helps you do, right? It helps you disqualify out of the gate. This is what we do and how we do it for the people. These are these people with these people. And if you don't fit that, then too bad. And that's
don't try to be all things to all people, right? So be
because then you become nothing to everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. You become jack of all trades, master of none. And Alyssa, is it fair to say that, a lot of people who think of this will compare themselves to like Nike, right? So Nike sells a pair of shoes, very simple product. We know what they do. They sell a dream, they sell health, whatever. But when you're selling a complex service, you're not going to take the same approach as Nike. If you're selling consulting, or you can't just say, hey, you can't try to be all things to all people. I think Nike wants to sell shoes to everyone. I don't think they're trying to disqualify certain markets. Like, they've got Converse, they've got all these brands that are within the company brand. So I don't know, how do you, what do you think of that? Like, how do you because we see a lot of these wonderful companies like Apple, that sell computers and phones, and they're trying to sell it to everyone. But like you just said, Fab, I'm not trying to call. I don't want to sell it to everyone. You don't want to sell it to everyone, and nor do you, Alyssa. We want to find the right people. So we're very different from those products.
Yeah.
But sorry, go for it.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, Fab.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Devil's advocate.
No, maybe, but obviously you're not a B2C product, right? For Apple to survive, they need to sell millions of products. Like, it's just, that's their business. But the reality is they do have a very strong positioning, right? And they do want only a certain type of person to buy their product. And obviously if somebody, let's say like me, who doesn't have many Apple products, they're like, great, but you're not our target, right? You don't fit within the position that we're trying to set ourselves. You're just kind of hopping along and good for us, but and Nike, sure, they have many brands under the Nike umbrella, but each brand has a very strong positioning, right? Nike has a very strong performance positioning, right? If you just want to go out and do it, just whatever, this is a shoe for you. If you just want to hang out and look cool, like maybe look at the Converse, right? Like, it's, so each brand does have a very strong positioning, and B2B is not that different. It's just, instead of marketing to selling millions of products every day, you're selling like 1 or 2 a month type of thing. But you still want that very strong positioning of like, I'm like, let's invent a positioning for you, like sales consulting for our plumbing industries in Montreal's West End. Like, this is who I work with. If you're not that, like, forget about it. If you have a plumber that comes in from the South Shore, fine, let's work together. But so to me, like, B2B is not that different. It's just the size of your market is different, but they're the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they're the same and different. That's what makes it confusing, because I think a lot of B2B businesses they discard what B2C is doing or what large brands are doing and thinking, that's not me. I don't have anything to utilize or learn from that. And I think the primary thing that B2B takes from B2C, or should take from B2C, large brands, large mass consumer products, is targeting. It is very important. And so, and B2C takes it to a crazy degree. Like, as I've mentioned before, the Apples, the Nikes, the Unilevers of the world, any brand, big brand, has a very specific, nuanced person who is their person for that brand, and detailed to a T, because everyone buys bars of soap. So many people have Apple computers, but they still have this very specific target. And I think where B2B businesses fail often in their positioning is to be that specific and nuanced in their target, because they're terrified that if they get that specific, they'll lose business as a result. And if those brands have anything to prove, the opposite is entirely true. And it blows my mind a little bit, and that's why I love working with B2B so much versus B2C, who I really don't work with, is I can share that insight and that learning, and often they're just like, whoa, okay. So your messaging hits way harder with your ideal prospect, the person that makes you the most money, the person you'd like to have 20 clients of, who you'd only like to sell to. Why the hell are you not just talking to them? And so that's what's so great to learn from. But then the way B2C does us a disservice for B2B is that then we think, oh, marketing for me just means doing all these big crazy things that big brands are doing, and that's not relevant to me. I'm only selling to 10 clients a month. I only need X number of, accounts in my portfolio. So that's not me. And that's where marketing as a stereotype is misled by B2C big brands, because B2B marketing is very different and very important. And the only thing we're truly pulling from B2C in that regard, or that is the same, is that nuanced laser focused targeting. Otherwise, B2B marketing is a completely different beast that a lot of business owners don't know anything about.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, I've learned a lot.
One satisfied listener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Cool.
So if we had to wrap it up for the listener, essentially, is it fair to say, don't focus on everything, focus on the things you do well. Don't be afraid to exclude those that you feel might not be targeted specifically in your positioning, because they'll find you if you talk about the things you do well. And if for example, to use Fab's example, if I'm a sales consultant operating in the east end of a city and just dealing with the plumbing people, and I mentioned that in my website, well, when the electricians show up, they'll probably say, hey, he could probably help me too. Or when the when the people, so focus on what you do well, make it clear, concise, don't throw a menu at them, and that way you'll create an interest. Because I guess you're, just to include this in the conversation, I guess you're sort of telling more of a story too. You're bringing them from A to Z, right? You're walking through something that makes sense to them, right? We're going to do this for you, rather than saying, well, you have all these things to choose from, and whatever happen.
Yeah, totally. You're narrowing in and speaking to that prospect that is your ideal prospect.
Yep.
And the more specific you can be with that person, and the more you strategically go after them with your marketing tactics and your communication, be that brand positioning and product positioning, the better. And then you're tailoring a product or service offering for that person. And I joke about putting a net out to catch the big fish. If you catch your big fish, or if you're putting a net out that will catch the big fish, you'll catch the minnows too. Yeah. So don't tailor to the minnows. Don't worry if the minnows swim away. They are not important. You laser focus, put those blinders on, and you focus on that ideal prospect that makes you the most money, who you service best, with the biggest, best offering for both of you. And that's
awesome.
Kind of my reco of that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
And the reality is, people that are afraid of losing it, the reality is, if you look through your old deals, you're probably selling to your best customers anyway. Like, the only thing you're doing is you're spending less time talking to bad prospects.
Exactly. You're pilfing, as we talk about disqualifying, the more you laser focus on talking to your ideal prospect, the less you'll have to disqualify, because you're only going to attract the ones that you're not wasting your time on, and they're not wasting it, so it's a win-win.
Yeah. Super interesting. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks, guys.
Can I do a session with you?
Anytime.
All right. Bye, Alyssa. Bye, Paul.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a great one.